Welcome to this updates for the Google Workspace updates for June 2022. Thank you very much for joining us on the virtual staff room. I'll fly through the updates, and as before, Chris will send this slide deck out to you, so you've got all those details and a link to the recording once it's been processed. And hopefully, if time allows, at the end, I'll also do a quick demo of Workspace practice sets, which is one of the new pieces of functionality that's coming to the Education Plus license. So let's go through these. So I mentioned this last month about the transformation reports. The window is open for 2 months biannually, twice a year. There's the link. You'll get this link with the slide deck when it arrives. I think it's a really neat tool. I think we talked about it before. It could be better. So it tells you, for example, how many of your teachers have got the Google Certified Educator Level 1 and Level 2, but it doesn't tell you who they are. So if you happen to have lost track of it, or you've got multiple schools and no real way of knowing because you give the licenses across to multiple people, it just becomes impossible to keep track of it. So there are improvements that it could make, but what it allows you to do is you and other people within the senior leadership team can go through complete parts of the report, fill it out, and then you get a comparison every 6 months and see what progress you're making and what usage there is and what Chromebook usage there is and things. So it's a neat little tool, free to use. You just need to go on, log in with your Google domain account and start to fill it out. So if you've not used it before, I would encourage you to do that. And that closes at the end of July. So you've still got time to do it this term, and then you can do it in December when the window opens again, just to see what progress you've been making. Okay, so you've now got the star option appearing in your tasks. This is on our domain. This is one of the ones that arrived early in June. So chances are most of these early ones will be on your domain now as well. So you can mark it in, you can star tasks, and then it allows you to find your tasks by stars. And that option is both on the web version and on the mobile version, which is a nice little additional bit of functionality on your tasks if you use tasks. This is a kind of, I was looking at this and looking at this and looking at this. I think this is just a much neater, better layout and a little bit more information about the way they improve the notifications in calendar mails. So if you want to make a suggested change to a calendar event, you can see what it looks like. You can see when the previous time was, you can see when the suggested new time was and things. So I think it's just a bit more of a better layout of the notification you get if there's a suggested calendar event change for you. So that's that one. So those of you who make Google Voice, subscribe to Google Voice, can now record your options. So that's a really useful thing. So if you think you might be having a difficult conversation with a parent and you feel you might need the evidence, for example, using Google Voice allows you to record that recording, so you can then listen back to it at a later stage and use it within the general scheme of the evidence within that kind of evidence gathering process. So a useful thing. You could, of course, use it like most people say for training purposes, but I think there are additional uses that schools could find are useful with them there. And it's literally just another button that appears in your Google Voice, either on your mobile or on your web one. I tend to use it almost exclusively on the web because I've permanently got my headphones on my Chromebox here. So I tend to use Google Voice here, but there is a web app as well that you can do through both. That's rather a nice one. Better experience for Meet calls. So there's a couple of things in Meet calls. There's one that's coming along later that you can actually remove them and actually kind of block them, so that means they can't actually get back in. And you can also report them for abuse. I don't quite know what the impact of reporting them for abuse would be, but the fact that you can block them is really useful. So it means that that person, if they're being inappropriate, then they get blocked and they no longer can request to get back in. They won't see the request to return. So it just gives you a little bit more control when you do block someone. So if you continue to be rude to me, Dave, then you know what's going to happen. That's that one. This is quite a nice little one, I think. You've got a picture-in-picture option. So you can, I mean, I'm currently in presentation mode, so all I can see is my presentation. And it kind of suits this style of presentation, that's fine. But I don't see your lovely faces in the Google Meet. Whereas with this one, you can actually pop it into a picture-in-picture. It pops down the bottom of the screen, then you can go into the whatever other thing you want to look at to do the thing, write a message, make a note, check anything that you might want to check. So I quite like that. That's quite a nice little additional tool. I like the picture-in-picture bit. It just keeps you connected, doesn't it? It's like doing the meet inside slides, for example. Again, it keeps you connected to the meeting, which is quite nice. It's a great little additional tool. Some updates on Google Sites, Forms rather. You've got a few more options with the way that you actually organize the whole thing. You can see on the picture here that rather than it being a single text style for the entire document, you now can actually specify what the header, what the question, and what the text will look like. So you've got a little bit more control on the way that it looks on the screen with additional colors and something. So it's just kind of a fractional improvement, but allows you to make a slightly better designed final version, because it was a bit limiting before that it was just one font style for everything. And again, this is relatively early in the month, so that you might well find that's already on your domain already. I haven't checked that, but it probably is by now. So that's just a little bit of extra bit of thing. I'm mentioning this I'll mention again tomorrow, because of course it has an admin impact. But if your admin person has got data loss protection files set up, it now means that you can now upload files to an external form that requests you to upload files, as long as it doesn't break the data loss protection rules. So if, for example, the data loss protection rule that says any financial documents automatically attach this label, and you can do that. So there's now, someone's found there's financial information in this document, so they automatically attach a label. You can then write a data loss protection rule that says if someone uploads a document with a financial label, then prevent them from uploading it. So you can't break the rules. And the only reason I mention it today is because you might well find you see the file I'm not allowed thing that's just flipping across the top of this GIF at the very top there. Yeah, as the user, if you're trying to upload a file from your domain into somebody else's form that's attached to another domain, and there's a data loss protection rule preventing that, then you'll see this little red bar at the top. So just to alert you to the fact that that might not be happening. And I'll talk about it again tomorrow in the admin session. Google Sites, this one is, so you can actually adjust the spacing between images within a Google site, which is quite nice. Just gives a little bit more space, makes it a little bit nicer to see, and separates them out a bit. So again, you can see where it goes is there. You're in the themes, so it's within the themes section. Yeah, and you can say, well, actually, with this theme, I want the spacing between these inserted items to be a little bit larger. So it just gives you a little bit of chance to think more carefully about the design. It's only a fractional gain there, isn't it? But there are 3 settings that you can go for just to give yourself a chance to have a look at how it looks on the page and decide whether you think there's a better spacing to be gained by fiddling with it. But it's all these little improvements all add to the improvement of the design, don't they, overall, which is nice. Okay, you can now print your tasks, which is great if you feel that you need to. I have to say that I think that a decision to go to electronic tasks, it seems counterintuitive to then go to option to print tasks. But, if, for example, you knew you were somewhere where you couldn't get to your domain and you were working on something and they were physical tasks rather than electronic tasks, it might well be that you would be glad of a list rather than having to endlessly go back to your phone or open your computer or whatever. So the fact that you can now actually print your tasks in the 3 dots at the top of the tasks, you'll see now in that little image, about 5 from the bottom, you've got the option to print the list. It'll give you a list of all your tasks on paper, should you want to do that. This is interesting. Interesting that there was no image of this. I don't know why there wasn't an image for this for me to use actually anywhere. But if you've got a Google document, and if you've got a Microsoft Office document, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint that you're currently working on, and it's open, you can set it to work to be available offline. If it's not open, a Microsoft Word document is not open, you can't go and open it. But if it is currently open, you can set it to work offline. So if you're on the train or whatever, or you're traveling somewhere and you can't get internet access, as long as you've got it opened already, set it to offline, then you can actually continue to work on it. And then, as with all offline work, as soon as you get back to a Wi-Fi signal, it will just automatically sync all your changes to the back to the document, and then you can carry on as normal. So that's nice. It's nice that it's there now. That's good. So more and more integration, interoperability, I suppose is the phrase, across the two major Office packages, which is good. So the new Google view has been with us for a little while. And it's been in the settings that you can change from one to the other. But they're going to now give you the option of this little pop-up, which is in the center there, this little icon below the title of this slide, where you can choose, if you do go to the new view, whether to include Google Chat or Google Meet in the little panel that appears on the left-hand side. You've got Mail, Chat, Spaces, and Meet on the left there, just to the left of the panel that is the one you're already familiar with. And you can literally go into the quick settings, and you've got the option to change to the new view or go back to the original view. But my domain hasn't got the option to decide whether to include Chat or Meet in it yet. That's not yet appeared. But the other thing I just wanted to mention, that if you are in the general settings and you want to change, at the top of general in the settings, you've also got the option to go from new or original view, should you want to. So you don't, if you're already in your settings, you don't need to use the quick settings. You don't have to go back there. It's in both places. So, and this is about not having to go somewhere. So if you're not familiar with this, if you click on the chat menu, what you get is you get little numbers next to your mail, your chat icon, your spaces icon, your meet icon, to tell you that there's things that you should be in or are missing or whatever. And if you click on it, then it just changes that screen. You don't have to go to a new tab. It changes from the inbox to your Meet chat to your Spaces chat, so you can get to the messages that little bit quicker without having to flip from tab to tab. It's just about this, and I think it's kind of my mantra. I think it's saying that a lot, that Google seems to be working really hard on kind of improving workflows, and all of these fractional changes. I think all these fractional improvements in the workflow mean that your working pattern is that much better, because you've got a better workflow, I suppose, and it's really quick to flip between these instantly. And I found myself using these more and more now. In fact, actually this morning until very recently, for the first couple of hours, I normally always have my chat window open. I normally open Mail, the calendar, and my chat, and I pin those three tabs so that I don't accidentally close them. But this morning I didn't open my chat, just to make myself use this one, and it's very quick. It's great, so I really like it. So I think I shall leave it turned on from now on. So that's in your quick settings. You'll see at the top there. I've got go back to the original view because I was on the new view, but if you haven't chosen it, you'll be on go to the new view. This is a new thing. This hasn't been around recently, and this might not necessarily be here quite yet. Normal pattern with all these updates, of course, is that it's 15-ish days, so roughly 2 weeks, they push it out to domains over a 15-day period, rather than it all happening all at once, which I think is sensible for them. And you can see on the picture here, all those who are currently in the call are at the top. Those who were invited that are not in the call are below, including those who have said no and those who are optional invites. And you know their status, you know whether they've said they're coming or not. And you also get a chat button, so you can actually send them a quick message saying that you're going to be joining us. So again, it's about that efficient workflow. You don't have to go out of the Meet to go and send the chat message to someone to remind them to come to your meeting. It's all in one place, so it just improves that workflow for you. So Google Forms, when you're writing a question, you've now got some basic rich text formatting, so bold, italics, underline, and so on and so forth. And you can also create hyperlinks. So you can create a hyperlink in the question to a relevant video, for example, or a document that they might want them to reference before they come back and complete the question. So it's nice that you've got that, the option to highlight keywords or to send them somewhere where they need to go before they actually answer the question. So I quite like that. I mean, of course, you can add in a video as before, but there might be a workflow instance where you think, well, I just wanted to go to that, go away from it, and then come back and decide, or it might be a document or whatever. So it just gives you the option to do those things, or a website, even just to link to a website, go there, look at that, and then come back and then answer the question. So it's nice that that's eventually arrived, and something I will certainly be using. This is one also not yet on our domain, but it might be on yours. So this is internal only to your domain. But if you want, you've got a new member of staff and you want to say, well, who is the software engineer that I need to speak to? Well, it's Elisa. So you go into her contacts.google.com, or use your waffle button to go into contacts. And in the panel at the top, next to the edit, there's 3 dots, and in there you've got the option to copy their profile link, which you can then send to that person via email or chat, or however you choose to send it. So they've got instant access to that person and all the details. I think, like all of these things that are improvements in contacts, it does rely on the contacts, the directory, having all the information in there in the first place. And you might, as a school organization, be very good at putting all these things in, but you might not necessarily. And you can see there's all sorts of things. If you are meticulous and do all of these things, you get like organizational trees where you can see who Elisa reports to, and so on and so forth, and all that kind of stuff. So it's just handy to have that information, and then sharing the contacts, particularly for new staff, becomes more useful because they can see more of the organization and understand better how it might work. It just allows you to share that information that little bit quicker. So those are the updates for June. The July updates I will include in the August updates, which I will do in September. I've taken a decision not to do it on September the 5th. It feels too close to the start of term, and it'll all be a bit panicked. So the next workspace update from us will be on September the 12th, which is the second Monday of the term, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So any questions about any of those? Anything come in as a chat or comments as I was flying through those?
Yeah, there's a comment in there from James, which is quite interesting on the Google Voice and the recording. If you join a Google Meet, say I came into this meeting slightly late, Paul, it would tell me that this meeting was being recorded. Do I want to actually join it or not?
It does, yes.
With voice, do they get a message this call is being recorded, or is it up to you to actually do that? Have we tried this out yet, or?
I haven't tried it yet.
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, I think you would need to tell the person that you were going to be recording them, would you? James is quite right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just on the Google Meet, where you can kind of block somebody. Let's say Dave Leonard. Let's say Dave. Yeah, we've never blocked you, Dave, obviously. that would, I guess, just be for that particular meeting. Is there any way of like blocking them permanently if you just get a total scallywag trying to jump in, or is that not the case?
Dave, what have you done to
me? No, not Dave. Dave's fine. I'm just thinking.
I don't just come here for the abuse, I can get abused anywhere else.
Yeah, you could stay home for that, couldn't you?
Get that at home, yeah.
I suspect if you block them for a repeating meeting, then it would probably block them for them all. Because the blocking option in that is a new thing. I don't quite know how it's going to work yet. I would need to check that. It's a really good question, though. But yeah, I think generally it would probably be, if they're individual events and they're invited to other events, it probably would just block them for that one event.
Okay.
And I don't know that there is a way to permanently block someone from all meets within your organization. Do you know, Dave?
No, I don't know about that one. It's not something I've tried out. I do know, though, in terms of the call recording, which we just mentioned, there are 2 options that you can set as an administrator. You can either set it to automatically record all calls, which does have the option then to prepend any calls with this call is being recorded message, which you can set in the admin panel as well. So you can either have the generic Google one, or you can record your own, or you can put your own text that will be transposed into speech. Or you can have the option to give your operators the opportunity to record a call. And again, I think I'm right in saying that when they hit the record button, they get a similar audio message. I think there's 2 of them that you can set in the admin panel. One for automatically recorded calls, and one for user-instigated recorded calls. So I think that legality is taken care of in that respect.
Yeah, excellent. Good. Thank you very much for that.
Fantastic. One more from me, Paul, and then I'll
absolutely.
quiet down for a bit. Just something. James and myself were on a call this morning with a gentleman who was about 10 minutes late turning up for the meeting. You know, fine, no problem at all. These things happen. But yeah, I had to kind of come out, find his email address, go through that, send him a message. Are you coming along? That little chat window where you've got the people who aren't actually in the meeting who've said they would be along, where you can literally just click on it and send them a chat, would be very handy. I can definitely see a lot of use out of that moving forward. Don't seem to have that option available to me at the moment. Is that something that's just?
If you look at my screen, I've got it because I'm the host.
Right. Okay. I'll double check on that. It might just be me having missed it, but
have you clicked on the people?
Let's check it. Yeah, let's have a look. See.
So you should have those who are in the call at the top.
I tell a lie. It is there. Yes.
Can other people see, or is it just the hosts? Can you see it, Dave?
So I can only see the people who are present in the call.
Okay, that's good.
But it is a new that in itself is a new view. The people who are present, because there's now almost seems to be 3 columns next to the names. I don't know whether you've got screen sharing enabled, because I could show you. Actually, yeah, it's the columns that you're showing there. Yeah. So those 3 columns appear to guess. So you've got the microphone status. You've got the option to pin. And then you've got more options, which would allow you to remove if you were a host or set as co-host. So you get the same view as a meeting attendee, but not the same actions as the host.
But you don't get the also invited.
No.
Yeah, no, which is fine. It's only the host that really needs to know that, isn't it? And those 2 buttons, the mute and the pin, were in the dots originally, weren't they? They just pulled them out, I think. But it's nice that they're there, because actually, if you need to mute someone, you don't want. Again, it's a workflow, isn't it? It's now a single click rather than a double click. So it's these fractional gain, but it just means that you muted that person a fraction quicker, which is quite important if you need to do that, I think.